think that's the idea.
Hello, darlings, and welcome to the news and views with the award-winning EV Café. 30 minutes of what's happening in zero-emission transport with expert analysis from the EV Café crew. Brought to you this week in partnership with our green heroes, Europe Car, who take charge, make change, and drive electric. So, with today's opinions on a stick are the quite wonderful Paul in his car. Hello, mate.
Hello, mate.
Sarah on a train. Again,
Choo-choo.
hello, and Sam. So it's lovely to see you all. No, Sam's in the car as well. And Sam, Tesla?
Yes, but as you can see, the gentleman to my right is just unplugging his electric van, which he's charging on as well at the GridServe site, which is great to see.
It's all live, and we've got some really interesting snippets of information. One of them about Tesla, which I'll come to in just a second. So we've got lots to get through.
Paul, you've got to go on mute, Paul. Can't hear a word.
Is he windy?
Yeah. Yeah. Stick him on mute, Joe.
Right, so let's get on with it. Cuppa, all that stuff. What's happening? Clean transport this week. Right, coming up, 408 climate experts have signed an open letter asking the UK political party leaders to pledge ambitious action on climate change. More on that in a minute. Oil demand is decreasing dramatically as more electric vehicles are deployed globally. The EU threatens tariffs of up to 38% on Chinese electric cars from July. The Conservatives pledged to stop road pricing and reverse the ULEZ expansion. So we'll have a bit of a dig into the manifesto and see what they're really promising as far as transport is concerned. But first, we've had this thing for a while about media misreporting, and Vern Pollard at Formula Space sent me a Taylor Swift snippet. Yes, I know who she is, just about. The BBC reported that the audience at her Edinburgh concert this week generated the equivalent energy to charge 6,000 electric car batteries during one song. Vern has calculated it was more like 6,000 AA batteries. Perhaps Vern needs a new hobby. Anyway, thanks for that, Vern. And thanks to Jill Noel for this nugget. And this is the Tesla nugget. Tesla have announced this morning that its customers avoided releasing roughly 13.4 million metric tons of carbon emissions during 2022, equal to 33 billion miles of driving by fossil fuel powered vehicles. 56 billion quid may be a heck of a salary for Elon Musk, but 33 billion miles of electric driving, top job. Shall we move on, chaps? Let's do that thing. 408 climate experts have signed an open letter asking the UK political party leaders to pledge ambitious action on climate change. The letter outlines 5 specific actions required in a programme of climate action. These include a strategy for meeting the UK's carbon budgets and net zero targets, action to help the UK adapt and become more resilient to climate impacts, international leadership on climate change, and support for mitigation and adaptation in developing countries. And there was one key extract for me that stood out from this letter. Britain needs a government that learned from the energy crisis triggered by Russia's invasion of Ukraine, which forced up the price of energy, damaging the economy, driving inflation, and requiring the government to spend an estimated, wait for this, £78 billion, according to the Office for Budget Responsibility, on consumer subsidies that contributed to huge profits for some energy companies. That was the big takeaway from that letter. 408 experts, including Richard Allen, Professor Richard Allen from Reading University, who is an absolute legend in this area. It's quite shocking, isn't it, that we've got a scientific community of hundreds of scientists, Paul, who are saying, enough is enough. You really do have to start your work now, because we're not going to hit net zero by 2050 or anything close.
I think that's the reality, isn't it? We've got the science, we've got the people that really know this stuff, and let's be honest, politicians, they're multitasking at the very best all of the time, and they don't really know their real subjects, it seems. So they're not qualified to answer, and it's time that they really listen to the science and to the things that were coming out that are really telling everybody action is needed, and hopefully they're gonna listen, and hopefully we'll get a government actually in the next few weeks that will listen. Let's hope.
It's interesting. Sam, do you think that anybody's listening in the political world to climate change and the things that are going on? Just Stop Oil, of course, this week famously defaced a portrait. Is anybody listening?
I hate those guys. Yeah, it's not the right way to affect change. Well, I tell you what I will do. Instead of answering your question, John, if I may, because I know Sarah's on the train, she's given some answers. Shall I read one of them out?
Please do.
Because frankly, she's more eloquent than us three put together. She says, I've been following a fair bit of the debates, and our leaders seem too scared, maybe not well informed, which is what Paul said, to be fair, to talk about it. Great, therefore, to see the academic community using its leverage with this open letter. I noticed one great comment from a leading academic. We need smart targets for climate action, clear-cut timescales, interim targets, ring-fence financial commitments, and an explanation as to how they will be funded. They then added, each of us needs to commit to living lower impact life, which we on the EV Café have all talked about, which of course is a great comment. Also echoes Paul's. My comment is completely different. All of this is brilliant, but until the politicians stop listening to oil companies who are in their ears every 5 minutes behind the closed walls of Parliament, we will not see change. So I would rather see more people asking governments to stop listening to oil companies quite so much and actually deliver some sustainable solutions instead of finding clever ways of mitigating the issue or navigating around it and sell more oil in the process.
Yeah, agreed. And I think
oil sales are going down.
That was the point about the 78 billion that we've spent in taxpayers' money supporting energy companies who then report massive profits. That cannot be sustainable. That cannot be right. Utterly nonsense. So let's move on, because there's a lot of politics in this news broadcast, obviously with an election not far away. Let's find out who's kicked the doors in, because this is getting mad. Scott Eady this morning, 9:30 this morning. He logged in on YouTube. Bless your heart, Scott. That really is impressive. Daryl Sharp from Omi thought he had kicked the doors in at 9:47. Doors were smashed to pieces by then, my friend. And Scott Eady was lying on the pieces. Brilliant. Absolutely superb. Anyway, should we do a quick shout out to people, because I know how much Sam loves this bit. Scott, obviously, genuine legend. Now, Gary Comerford. He was in second at 9:44. Wayne Dunn. Stop that noise, Sam. That's disgusting. Graham McLaren Harris, Liz Allen, Chris Griffin. Who else we got? We've got the aforementioned Daryl Sharp. We've got Karen Mull from Europe Car. Hello, Matthew Ling from Suffolk. Love you, hug you, and squeeze you. Adam Purcell, Toby Hiles, Ashley Bannister. Hello, mate. How's your EV Cafe mug? Do let us know. We've got Ron, EV Beano. Roger Atkins is here in the house. Welcome, my friend. Mark Main is here. Dev Chakravarti, as always, bless you. Never taken for granted, always loved. Rachel Lewis, hello from Compleo. We'll be seeing you on the EV Rally very soon. Peter Lever. Coldplay already harness the energy from their gigs. You're absolutely right. Their sustainable logistics partnership, really, really impressive. Pam Hanlon from Powers here. Charlie Gilbert from Field Dynamics. Hello, Gordon Telling. Wow, that's a name I've not seen for a little while. Lovely to see you, mate. Martin Sweeney, Darren Anvona. Oh, my Lord, the list goes on. Tom Middleditch from Europe Car. Lisa Martin from Charge Place Scotland. Oh, my Lord, thank you so much for making our Fridays. This is one of the best bits of the week, without question, as far as I'm concerned. And clearly, you guys turning up, you kind of like it too, and we are really grateful. Let's move on. Sam talked about oil demand being displaced by electric and fuel cell vehicles globally, because he might have read the script. That displacement will more than double from what it is today to almost 4 million barrels per day by 2027, a new report suggests. With 83 million electric cars, trucks and buses forecast to be on the world's roads next year, and with more than 340 million electric 2- and 3-wheelers, the reduction is similar to the volume that the whole of Japan consumed in 2022. So we've completely taken out of the equation a country's oil usage, a country the size of Japan. However, Bloomberg's NEF long-term electric vehicle outlook report indicates that the window to reach global net zero transport ambitions is now narrower than ever. The report also shows that EVs are no longer only a wealthy country phenomenon, with countries like Thailand, India and Brazil all experiencing record sales as more low-cost electric vehicles are launching and targeting local buyers. Great news, Sam.
Yeah, it is. It is. I was just reading it as you were reading it. Sorry, John. Yeah, it is good news. I think one of the things I was listening to Rob Llewellyn yesterday on one of the Fully Charged episodes around the cost parity coming closer and closer now between diesel and electric, which is really, really good news. That will only help stimulate the market. That's still further. So yeah, we're going in the right direction. As always, more can be done. It's a good news story, and it just, any news story that shows we're consuming less oil is good for me.
Yeah. Now, the key finding from this report, Paul, was that the governments across the world will need to carefully weigh up competing priorities and avoid policies that reduce competition or access to affordable EVs. Now, we know that already in our own domestic market, it's that the business case for vans is a tough one at the moment. There's more that can be done in a first world country to green our logistics. There's a heck of a long way to go globally, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, gosh, I'm it's enough trouble keeping up with the UK market without having to kind of understand every aspect of all the globe. But I guess that the commercial vehicle proposition around the world is getting better, and Roger Atkins talks about the tariffs that have been sort of muted in the news in Europe and so on. Roger, I don't know the detail on it. You're more informed than I am, but I have heard them, and I think it's really important that we do kind of make sure that green tech has, we've got access to it. It's affordable, and I don't know. The Chinese thing is a tough one, and other importers, are eyeing up the UK and Europe. If we keep pricing people out of the market and out of the opportunity, then we're causing a problem. It's got to stack up, and as Sam always bangs on about, it's got to make financial sense, and it really does. And there are too many areas where we're just expecting companies to suck it up. And pay the higher cost of an electric vehicle versus an ICE vehicle. I do have every confidence that the prices are going to come level, but or you go in favor of electric. But in the meantime, yeah, we need a political will.
Yeah, and let's go back to that first story where the climate scientists were saying that we desperately need to have a government that will take positive action to get people into electric cars. And the story that Roger Atkins alludes to, it's all kicking off in Europe, he says this week. Keen to hear your thoughts on the tariff news. Let's talk about that. The European Union has said it will slap tariffs on Chinese-made electric vehicles from next month, the latest strike in an escalating trade war between Europe, the US and China. The bloc has announced tariffs of up to 38.1%. This will come on top of the existing tariff of 10%. The move comes after an investigation by the European Commission into whether the Chinese government was subsidizing its EV production. For months, Europe has accused China of flooding the global market with EVs so cheap the rest of the world can't compete. The Commission says it's aiming to discuss the issue with Chinese authorities, but the tariffs will come into force by the 4th of July if discussions do not lead to a solution. So we've got climate scientists say we need to do whatever we can as soon as possible to reach net zero and to mitigate the climate damage that is being done. We've got politicians saying that they're going to start putting tariffs in the way, making sustainable choices much more expensive for consumers and fleets. These things are inconsistent. Where are the customers in all of this, Sam? It doesn't sound as though anybody is listening to anything that anybody is saying on the ground.
No, yeah, this is a huge debate, isn't it? And I don't know, where does it end, right? I mean, you slap tariffs on China, they're going to slap tariffs back. So it'll be a war of financial attrition as to how many tariffs are applied to different goods and services flowing up and down the the channels of the world. So, you know, it is a bit of a worry. And I suppose also, you know, will we ever understand how much the Chinese government are subsidizing these vehicles? Are they not? We'll probably never know the answer. So it's difficult to really ascertain what the real landscape looks like. So I've got no idea how this one's going to unfold. It's complex. And again, what has Sarah said about it? I'm just making sure that because bless her, she's on the train. She said, this doesn't surprise me, but you've only got to go to shows like the Fleet News Company Car in Action, and there doesn't seem to be a closed door to China there. The fact is the vehicles are cheap to own, lease, and they're working hard to be stylish and tech ready, one to watch on the global market. And one other thing she also said, which I just wanted to highlight, John, if I may, because on the previous thing, but it's an interesting one. She said, based on today's policy settings alone, almost 1 in 3 cars on the roads in China will be electric by 2030. And almost 1 in 5 in both the United States and the European Union. So that's quite interesting to think the proportions of how many vehicles are going to be on the road and electric by 2030.
What's really caught my eye is Roger Atkins' comment, Paul, and I'll come to you. Roger says it's an almost 50% additional cost for SAIC MG in Europe. It's going to trigger an EV slowdown just as we need to speed it up. Roger is bang on as always.
Yeah, Roger is. My focus is slightly different though, because I mean I have been permanently irritated by the European manufacturers that are perfectly capable of making these changes and switches, maybe using Chinese batteries and all that sort of stuff. But the reality is it can be done without the dependence on China. The guys from Canoe, I'm just moving these vehicles right now, but they are reliant on a tiny percentage of their products. So it can be done to build vehicles without reliance on China. And I'm not saying that, fundamentally Chinese are bad, but what I am saying is that other manufacturers need to take action to produce vehicles that are fit for purpose and a cost that is correct and reasonable and thinking about, the future now, because otherwise, we're just going to be stuck with the same old diesel and petrol stuff that we've always had because, governments are cutting down on the Chinese stuff. So we don't need a trade war, definitely not. But we do need local manufacturers in Europe and potentially in America that are able to step up and do good stuff and deliver product to us now.
Yeah, absolutely right. It's Jamie Fretwell says, Paul, that Sarah was absolutely right, and thank you, Sam, for bringing that to us. The Company Car in Action this week, which you've been at, Paul, and I think Sarah was at as too, was on and really showcased electric vehicles, and you get some love, Paul. Jamie Fretwell says, well done, mate. Big love for bringing in the commercial vehicles. How was Company Car in Action?
It was really good. I think it was a little quieter than perhaps I would have hoped for from fleet managers. But what we did do, particularly with the Canoe vehicles and the commercial vehicles around here, is really celebrate in a typically car-orientated world the van. And Maxis were here also. I'm looking at the E-Deliver 5 just over there waiting to be collected, and the Monroe is in the background as well. I can give you a tour if you wish, but it's exciting to see the appetite. So we talked to some big fleets, and these fleets are really hungry to make changes and really hungry to drive the adoption. And they're thinking very specifically about how do we get driver engagement for commercial vehicles. Had a lot of meetings over these last few days with some of the most influential, largest fleets in the UK. In fact, we've spoken to probably 3 of the top 4 to really understand what do they want, what are they hoping. They've already got 5,000 vehicles on fleet, but the appetite is big, and they just need the product. It's as simple as that.
Wayne Dunn on YouTube says, even the car park at Company Car in Action was clearly up on EV numbers from 2 to 3 years ago. We're evidencing this. It's not just a bunch of tree huggers who are getting into a room and all frothing about an electric vehicle because they think it's their little hobby horse. The world is changing, Sam, and we are moving into business as usual almost for certain elements of our ways of driving and moving people and things around the world.
Yeah, we are. I mean, this is a very isolated example, but I'm sat at Rounham, is that how you pronounce it? Services down in the South Coast today. And there are cars coming. You literally one parking up right next door. There was a van when we started this. I reckon there's been maybe 15 vehicles I've seen come and go on these charge points since we've been doing the news, 2 of which were vans. So it just goes to show that everyone is coming through. There is throughput, there is demand, and also people are stopping and grazing, because gone are the days where people are parked up here for an hour. It's 10-15 minutes a pop. So it just shows that there's a I know it's an isolated example, but it's happening. Literally, I'm surrounded by electric vehicles that are coming and going, grabbing a wee, grabbing a coffee, charging for a bit, and on their way. Easy. It's becoming easy.
Right. So let's get into the dirt, shall we? Let's get down and dirty with the politics. The Conservative Party has vowed to back drivers, by stopping road pricing and reversing the expansion of London's ultra-low emission zone ahead of the general election on July the 4th. Launching the party's manifesto at Silverstone on Tuesday, Prime Minister Rishi Sunak outlined a package of policies. With a focus on cutting taxes and tackling migration, the party also outlined its plans for transport. The most eye-catching policy was a pledge to stop that road pricing, but there was no indication of how the Conservatives would plug the predicted shortfall in road taxes from the switch to electric vehicles. So off I went, and I had a little bit of a look at the various manifestos to see what the Conservatives were actually saying in their manifesto. 78 pages long. I searched for transport within this 78-page long document, and I found 10 mentions. Predominantly, they focused around the £36 billion saving from HS2, used essentially for Midlands transport system upgrades. Not much else. They continually talk about the Midlands as the heartland of their investment for transport and nowhere else. They said we remain steadfastly committed to road safety, and to that end we'll maintain our pledge to build no new smart motorways and invest in improving the safety of existing ones. We don't want them improved in terms of safety. We want them gone. They are deadly. There will be no blanket introduction of low traffic neighbourhoods and 20-mile-an-hour schemes. Well, you can, but there'll be a referendum process and an appeal process. So they're promising that there won't be a blanket introduction, but there can be, but you'll get a chance to say you don't like it. I went and searched electric cars within the manifesto. I found one mention. We will support people to choose electric cars by ensuring our charging infrastructure is truly nationwide, including rapid charging and delivering the zero-emission vehicle mandate to support manufacturers to safeguard skilled British jobs. We have an electric car charging infrastructure, which is truly nationwide, including rapid charging. The zero-emission vehicle mandate exists, is law, is done. I searched electric vehicles. There was one mention. We will always back our world-leading automotive industry, which faces unprecedented competition from China in the electric vehicles market. Now then, listen to this, because the climate scientists are saying we need action to make a difference. Do things now. And the politicians say we stand ready to support domestic car manufacturers if there is evidence other countries are breaking global trade rules. There is no mention of electric commercial vehicles at all. Not one. Not a van, not a truck, not a bus, not a train. I searched all of them. None. Interestingly, there is the creation, now don't laugh, of Pump Watch to communicate the prices for fossil fuels across the UK so that you can find the best deal. It's clear to see where the priorities lie. And Sam, you were right. This government is in the pocket of big oil. We've always known it. It's writ large there. This election cannot surely be about stopping immigrants coming to this country, but forgetting the people who live here, who live with having to move around this country and do so in a cost-effective, efficient way. Sam, I'm tearing what little hair I have left on my back out. What are you doing?
Yeah, I just saw Martin's comment pop up that says blah, 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 which I don't think that's a criticism of you, John. I think that's more of an inference of the blah, blah, blah of politics, right? And it's not just the Conservatives, is it? It's all of them. You can tell by the rhetoric that you narrated there that it's almost written by all companies. You know, we're striving towards, we're working towards, or we're looking to achieve. Yeah, it's all blah, 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 isn't it? Which is very frustrating. And I also... It made me smile. The savings from HS2, the savings, the money. How is that? Like, yeah, and then our public charging network. It's not yours. It's not a government-owned system. It's ours actually. It's the corporate world that owns it and doing a damn good job. So, hopefully, you know, we'll just crack on as we've always said and just do the doing. Irrespective, quite frankly, at least in my humble opinion, of whichever government comes next, because we certainly can't wait for them to help us along the way.
I think what this shows, Paul, is there's a total lack of focus on transport and the importance of organisations like ourselves and like the community that we have in raising this issue. I went and had a look at the Labour manifesto. Within the Labour manifesto, there is not one policy that has not already been announced prior to the launch of the manifesto. They have not created one new policy and put it in that manifesto. It is a broad document about change and stability. I'm getting really frustrated, and I think this is our opportunity, isn't it, to shout loud, to keep pushing, to keep banging the drum, because if we don't, nobody will.
It feels like Labour have been complacent in that they think, everybody's going to vote for us anyway. We don't need to come up with something that's viable. I'm so frustrated with politics. I mean, this is the most dull news for me, because I'm like a none of the above. None of the above. There's no point in putting my ex in a box, and I will do, but putting my ex in a box, because it will make no difference to what I and others will do as a reaction and a response. We have to kind of carry on going. We do need government support, and we do need, transport. Bill Esterton from Labour, or Anthony, whatever his chops was, from Conservatives. We do need those guys to step up and get on with it, and we need their support. But we can still, as Sam talks about often, just get on doing the do, because it's so important to just, for us to not be moved to the right or the left with all the things that are going on, but just to carry on talking to fleets, talking to people, educating, supporting, encouraging, celebrating products that are coming to market, and help people make those changes.
Yeah, Paul, right. Paul, I just had a look at Sarah's comments on this, and she's written a whole paragraph, so I'm not going to read it out, but it's very much reflective of what you just said. In fact, what I want to read out is the first 11 words of what she said, because it resonates with what you just said. She said, "I'd be surprised if they follow through with anything at all."
Yeah, absolutely right. Now, Darren Anvener, I think that's incitement to riot, my friend. Let's storm Parliament. Make sure you travel there on sustainable transport. Yeah, if you need bailing out, do let us know, and we'll send money.
Donald Trump did it. Why not? He risked life and limb, storm the whatever he did in America. Why not?
That's not the way we're going to get results. Defacing statues or throwing powder on snooker tables, is not the way to win the battle. So we've got to find clever ways, smarter ways of doing it, unfortunately.
So let us know in the comments. Do I bother to go through other manifestos? Do we look at the Green Manifesto next week and see what the other side of the coin might be? Or is it just pointless because they're never going to get into power? Let us know. Let us know your view, and we'll pitch this accordingly. If it needs to be binned, it does. It was just a particular hobby horse of mine. Nobody cares, and we needed to get that out there.
I think it's a great idea, because let's be honest, none of us are going to read all the manifestos, but to just pull out the key words which matter to this forum and seeing what comes out of it, I think is quite valuable.
Cool. Okay. We might do that next week then. Right. We're done. Until next Friday, it's goodbye from me and it's goodbye from them. Good luck to Scotland tonight and England on Sunday in the first matches of the Euros, if you care. If you've got any clean transport PR or news stories you'd like us to cover, please send them to us at hello@evcafe.org. And 2 people did last week, so thank you kindly. This has been an EV Cafe production brought to you this week in partnership with Europcar. Take charge, make change, drive electric. Other sustainability news services are available, but this is just funny! Yabba dabba. The EV Cafe is truly blessed to be partnered with the AA, Webfleet, Europcar, Paythrough, Iveco, Zaptec, Drax, Spiri, Stuart Science, Hydrock, Allstar, Schneider Electric, and Dynamon with the EV Cafe, supporting the transition to zero-emission transport. Enjoy the rest of the day and your weekend, wherever it takes you. Love you lots. Until next Friday. Bye.
Bye.
Boom, as they say.